the most boring royal banquet in history. A 7-course disaster. Chapter 1. The menu. Gruel. Eel and other crimes against taste. Picture it. A damp stone hall, echoing with the flatulence of poorly digested lentils. Welcome to the royal court of King Wymond the Mild, circa 1287. The occasion: his daughter's betrothal to a cousin so distantly related that even the family tree groaned under the strain. What better way to celebrate than a lavish banquet featuring some of the most questionable culinary choices in recorded history? Our first course was a tepid bowl of barley gruel. Not porridge, mind you. Gruel, essentially, it was warm water made slightly murky by the brief presence of a grain. It came unseasoned, uninvited, and underwhelming. Guests were advised to add their own salt if they could afford it by wringing out their sweat-drenched tunics. Next, jellied eels, a true medieval treat that had all the texture of regret. Served cold and sometimes still wiggling, they were considered a delicacy. The court physician called them intestinal roulette due to their unpredictably laxative side effects. Third course, a meat pie filled with questionable bits of unidentified beast. It may have been boar. It may have been stable dog. One thing's for sure, it wasn't happy to be there. The pie crust was so hard it could double as a roof tile. Many diners quietly gave up, knowing the edges like prisoners bored of their own fingernails. By the fourth course, a roasted swan, dyed blue with crushed lapis lazuli, people had stopped making eye contact. The dye caused mild hallucinations in some diners. One guest reportedly asked the swan if it had any career advice. The cheese course consisted of a pungent wedge of something known only as old crumbly, a cheese so aged and spiteful it once bit back. The banquet hall cleared slightly during this course as guests made polite excuses, like, "I must go check on my plague sores." Dessert: a single boiled prune. For digestion, they said. It was served on a pewter plate the size of a small boat anchor, ensuring maximum clanging noise as it slid across the table. As the guests dabbed at their greasy mouths with what appeared to be recycled flags, it became clear this was less a banquet than an endurance trial. And yet, the most painful part was yet to come. Take a moment, breathe, perhaps drink some water, unlike our guests who only had warm mead. For now, we transition to the social hellscape known as medieval seating arrangements. Seating drama. Why Baron Plopbottom sat next to the pig handler. The medieval banquet seating plan was a delicate affair. Less about comfort and more about calculated humiliation. The higher one sat near the monarch. The more important one was considered. Everyone else plopped somewhere in the hinterlands of etiquette purgatory. Baron Plopbotomius, that was his actual name. Blame his ancestors had been promised a seat near the front for his generous donation of 7 barrels of turnip mash during the turnip famine. However, due to a clerical error, he was seated directly beside the pig handler. The pig handler, to his credit, attempted polite conversation, offering tales of swine-related infections and lice-themed limericks. Plapetum, already nursing a stew of social anxiety and eel-induced nausea, responded with a polite nod and a slow internal scream. Meanwhile, Lady Frigga of Damford was furious to find herself at the far end of the table, across from a man who insisted he was the reincarnation of a turnip. He gnawed on the table leg and claimed it whispered state secrets. King, oblivious to the chaos, sat in splendor upon his creaky throne chair, well away from the action. His daughter, the bride-to-be, whispered that she hoped to elope with the lute player before dessert. As trenchers of meat slop were passed hand to hand down the line, often arriving, licked, dropped, or mysteriously reduced tempers flared. One knight stood and delivered an impromptu toast that devolved into an argument about whether chickens had souls. By the time the prune rolled down the table like a sad bowling ball, the seeding drama had achieved its peak, an impromptu chair duel between Lord Crumb and Viscount Splatter, which ended when both realized they'd confused each other for completely different people. Sleepy yet? Good. Let your thoughts sink into the sticky rushes on the banquet hall floor as we trudge into the realm of medieval manners. Chapter 4. After dinner festivities, the juggling monk who cried, "Brother!" Cedric was a monk with a dream to be the finest juggler in 5 parishes. He was also the only juggler in 5 parishes, which technically made him the best and worst. He emerged from behind a tapestry wearing robes made of stitched-together hymnals. He immediately dropped his first jug. It shattered The second was sticky. The third was on fire. He pressed on like a hero no one asked for. Between juggles, he told riddles that had no answers and sang psalms rewritten as sea shanties. One particularly mournful number about lentils moved a chambermaid to sleep. When he attempted a somersault, he tangled in his robe and gently wept into a decorative leak. The audience clapped out of pity, or because they thought it was over. It was not over. He attempted to balance a goose on his head while reciting tax codes. The goose escaped. The tax codes caused a noble to faint. Brother Cedric was eventually escorted out by the royal goat, who had wandered in and seemed to understand the urgency. As guests departed, clutching their stomachs and dignity, the event was officially declared a historical occurrence. And so concludes the most boring royal banquet in history. You, listener, have survived a journey through the gruel-drenched corridors of aristocratic tedium. May you sleep deeply tonight, dreaming of whispering prunes, juggling monks, and the gentle, unwavering stare of Baron Plop Button. Rest well.